Well, hello, my friends. No, not Troy Brewer. I'm the better looking brewer, Ben Brewer, here at you live from parts unknown, somewhere in Texas. Today, guys, first off, I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm having a good day. I just drank a bunch of sweet tea from Fast Taco, so I'm feeling really good. And I am joined today with Miss Rebecca. How are you today?
I am doing great. I had sweet tea from McAllister's, so I'm having a great day.
Oh, there you go. What about you, Miss Connie? How are you today?
I'm doing good, and I love McAllister's tea. I used to work there.
I love it.
Yeah.
You worked at
Paycheck
McAllister's?
Yeah, dude, I worked at Jason's Deli and McAllister's. Preferred Jason's Deli, but I like them both.
Yes.
They're really good.
Fair enough. We are also joined by the illustrious Captain John Arroyo. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. Awesome. Excited to be here with you three.
We're excited to have you, man. So for those of y'all who do not know, Captain John Arroyo has actually joined the Open Door staff. And so how's that been going for you, man?
Man, it's been good. I'm excited. It's something that I think that it was coming. Today we talked about seasons in our staff meeting, right? And I just believe that we stepped into a new season.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't know this, but I had a home built for me, a mortgage-free home by one of the veterans organizations, and they built it in Burleson, Texas. And I wonder, of all the places, why would you build in Burleson, Texas?
Because God had a plan.
Amen. And so it was just about the right timing. And so here I am. I love to be a part of the Open Door team, telling everybody about what we're doing around the world and how to be a part of it.
Right on, man. Well, it's good to have you. Well, before we get to you, though, we have a few announcements we got to make. Miss Connie, you want to go ahead and start us off, please, ma'am?
Yes. So everyone, I want to remind y'all that, hey, Pastor Troy is back. So he will be preaching this Wednesday and Sunday. And then what's following that next week is, of course, the April 8th eclipse. And we are having an amazing event here at Open Door Church called Overshadowed. It's April 8th, the day of the eclipse. Pastor Troy is going to give a really brief and powerful message inside the sanctuary at Open Door. And then as a body, we're going to transition outside so that we can watch the shadow of the eclipse pass over us. And we're also going to be doing baptisms during that time. So it is going to be so powerful. We encourage you to bring out your families. This is really geared towards your families. We really want you to bring your kiddos so that this can be a moment in history for them where they're like, hey, look, I can look back and I was there with my family. I saw a move of God. My church was intentional about this day, not with it being a day of panic like so much of the media is saying, but it being a day of promise from King Jesus. So come out if you can. We will be streaming. Speaking of streaming and things that are going to be on ODX, Pastor Troy was just on Flashpoint last night. The Flashpoint episode, I think that's with TBM. I'm sorry, I'm not sure, but it's already uploaded to ODX.TV. So if you are a part of ODX already in partnership with us, that's there, and it was a powerful message. If you are not yet signed up on ODX.TV, all you got to do is go and visit the website, and you can see the different stages laid out for you. You see what you get with each stage, stage 2 and stage 3. And with stage 2 and stage 3, you get full access to this podcast, the Pulse. You get to see behind the veil, and you don't get cut off like if you're just watching on social media.
Yeah, come behind the veil with us, as Pastor Troy like to say.
There, yeah.
Well, for those of y'all who just came out of your storm cellars because the last night's fun storm, I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but that was a good one. Man, my house is up on top of a hill. It was a blast to watch it blow in. It was awesome. But I'm glad that you guys are joining us. And again, just as Miss Connie said, if you want to join us for the second half of this, we'll be going behind the veil, and you have to be a stage 2 or a stage 3 member. Again, just for everybody else to remember, Pastor Troy will be preaching this Wednesday night. We are also doing Sunday service, and then we will also be doing the eclipse on Monday, along with baptisms. Oh, man. I hope you guys are ready because I am super excited to talk to the amazing Captain John Arroyo because he just came out with an awesome new book.
I did, yeah. And actually, I want to let everyone know that there's actually 3 books, but the new book is I Never Heard My Dad Say, and that's really years later, a 44-year journey that God eventually showed me my heart. I was already in full-time ministry when I wrote that book, and I prayed Psalm 139, which is David's psalm, where he says, Lord, search my heart and see if there's any wicked thing in it. And let me know, like, dissect my heart and reveal it to me so that I can be right with you. I can be in right standing. So I prayed that prayer already in full-time ministry. And I, being a former Green Beret, I actually thought that God was going to say, hey, you need to check your heart and make sure that your pride, you need to deal with pride and ego and all that stuff. But he didn't. Mm. He told me that I had an orphan heart. Mm. And it led to, I never heard my dad say. So my dad died when I was 5 years old. I never once heard my dad say, I love you and I'm proud of you. And really that became something that affected my life in a negative way, because when you're not affirmed by your dad or your mom, you will go look for affirmation your entire life as a young kid. So for me, I got into gangs at a young age. I became a Green Beret in the Army. And a lot of people will say, well, John, what does an orphan heart have to do with being a Green Beret? Mm-hmm. I became a gang member on the streets, not because I wanted to be in a gang, but because my friends thought gangs were cool and I needed their approval. Hmm. When I got into the military, you can hide orphan hearts in your uniform. It can be hidden. So when everybody started saying, hey, those Green Berets, those Army Rangers, they're the best. Mm. What did I need them to think about me? I needed their approval. I needed their affirmation. And so I started telling people I was going to be a Green Beret. Didn't even know what a Green Beret did. It didn't matter, though. I just wanted their fanfare. I just wanted people to tell me how cool I was. And so out of that, the Lord revealed to me that I had been chasing affirmation. So I went looking for a dad my whole life until I finally met my father.
Yeah.
So good.
That's a good word.
Can I ask really quick, what was the hardest part about writing this book? Because I feel like that would be a very vulnerable place to be in.
Yeah. It is very vulnerable. The hardest part of that book is revealing the root cause. Mm-hmm. So the root of what I just told you, when God revealed my heart, that was the root of everything. So there's a lot of people. So I'm a veteran, right? So you guys know that I did 20 years in the military. I've been to war 3 times. So there's a lot of soldiers that they come back from war and they struggle with the effects of war. And they take medication for it, right? PTSD, depression, anxiety, a lot of things that they take medication for. But there's a root. There's a root under that. So it could be fear. It could be moral injury. It could be something that is the root. And when they deal with the root, then typically they can overcome the symptoms, right? PTSD, fear, depression, anger, alcoholism. Those are symptoms to something that is a root. And so this book, I never heard my dad say, is a revelation of the root cause when God began to reveal my heart to me. So there's a lot of people that go to the doctors and they say, Doc, I've been feeling this like pain in my shoulder or my right side, right? And what is the first thing the doc does? He tries to diagnose the root. He does blood work, x-rays, CT scans. Why? Because they're trying to diagnose the root. So the most vulnerable part, to answer your question, Connie, is when I wrote and opened up my heart to the root cause of what God showed me. And there's a couple of other chapters in here that I had to tell my children that I was sorry. One of them is what the heart is really saying. I believe that's the name of the chapter, what the heart is really saying. So one of my sons, John Jr., he grew up in Los Angeles, but I was in the Army in North Carolina. And one day, I would come back to I would visit California, visit my son, but I would probably see him maybe once or twice a year. And when I would come home, I would try to see all my family as well as my son during that time. And this my boy, he wants one-on-one time with his dad. And I didn't know it at the time, but I would steal his time and I would give it to other people. I'd give it to my friends. And one day, not long ago, a couple years ago, actually a year ago, he said, Dad, can you not, like, can you stay a couple more days? Because I don't feel like I got the actual time with you. I don't feel like I got quality time. And it was the first time, Ben, it was the first time, Rebecca, it was the first time, Connie, that I looked at my son, and like Pastor Troy said to me when he anointed me, I see you. And it was the first time that I actually heard my son. I actually heard his heart, what the heart is saying. Because a lot of times what we do is we don't respond out of our heart because we're men. I'm a Green Beret, right? I don't like, if I don't like the way someone's doing something, I'll typically step out in anger or maybe bite. But really what I'm not saying is, man, that hurts me when I see you doing that, or that hurts me because you don't know what I've been through. We don't talk like that to each other.
Yep.
Right? What we do is we just get angry or bite or slap or whatever with our words. And really the root of it is, when I was a kid, I was abandoned, I was rejected. And so now that you're doing this and I'm 40 years old, this is how I respond to the root. And so my son,
That's powerful.
my son in this book, he says, Dad, can I get some more time with you? And I remember thinking to myself, how many times as a young boy, when it was time for me to leave and get to the airport, and here I am going on the escalator up, and I'm waving at my son, how many times did he sit there and cry and say, I didn't even get the time with my dad? And so this book is all about the root causes. So anyways, sorry.
No, that was amazing.
good.
That got
Thank you so
deep
much.
fast.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm crying over here. So yeah.
No, but that's a great word, seriously. And it's awesome that you can check that in your book. But you also have 2 other books. And ladies and gentlemen, you ready for this? If you call the number 877-413-0888, the first 15 people to call will get one of these 3 amazing books. Now, your first book was actually Attacked at Home, right?
Yes, sir.
So tell me about that one.
Well, I was shot April 2nd of 2014. Ben, today
Is the 10 years?
is April 2nd, 10-year anniversary of the day I was shot. And man, so that book, Attacked at Home, details everything that happened in my life. Because when the Lord told me that I was going to write a book, I had never written a book. That's typically how God does things, right?
Yes.
Like if you're going to do something, it's going to be the first time you do it. So when God spoke to me, I was told, hey, the Holy Spirit's going to take over and he's going to write your book. And so I literally went home, grabbed a pen, and waited for the Holy Spirit to grab my arm. But he didn't. But he didn't. So I just said, how do I start? And I just began to tell my life story from the beginning. And so Attacked at Home is the beginning of my life story. And then as it intersects with my wife, Angel, and my children, and then who went to war and how my wife dealt with that, because she has her own voice and what was going on in the home when I was deploying, and then who actually came home, because the same guy that went to war was not the same guy that came home.
Yep.
And I brought war back into my house. And even though my family didn't go into Afghanistan and Iraq, Iraq and Afghanistan came into my home. And my family had to live through that. So I detailed that in Attacked at Home. But then April 2nd of 2014, I was shot. For those, Ben, that don't know, I was shot April 2nd of 2014 in the throat by another soldier. There was 19 of us shot on the military base, Fort Hood. I think this is important. I was wounded by someone that I trusted. I think everybody has that experience to a level of degree, but I was wounded by someone that I would have given my life for. And he put a 45 through my throat that severed my jugular vein. And when I was dying on the ground, Jesus audibly spoke to me. And I know that so many of the listeners maybe know who I am, maybe some know the story, but I'll just kind of recap. And I think it's important. When I was shot and I was bleeding out, here's what I think everyone needs to hear is that Jesus didn't shoot me to give me a testimony. He didn't take your mom. He didn't take your dad because he needed another flower in his garden. God doesn't do that. He's a good father.
It's a great word.
That is.
He doesn't. And so many people think God puts sickness on them because he needs to use them, or he took my mom, or he took my dad. That's a lie from the pit of hell. But he also didn't, in Daniel chapter 3, he didn't stop Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from stepping in the fire through obedience. What he did is he stepped in the fire with them, right? In Luke chapter 22, he tells Peter, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift you. He didn't stop it. What he did is he said, but I'm with you and I'm praying for you that when you return to me, strengthen your brothers. You're coming back, buddy, but I'm with you. Most of us think that's never supposed to happen. So April 2nd of 2014, I'm on the ground. My life is pouring out and Jesus steps in to my brokenness when my life is pouring out, which should have been instant death. And he said, John, get up or your wife is going to die. Ben, it was easier to die that day. It was easier. Most people, no one would have knew if I would have just gave up. But I'm a legacy starter. That's what God has called the Life Transformed to do. That's what God has called Open Door Church to do, to be legacy starters. Why do we save kids all over the world? Why are we raising them? Why is Spark raising them? Because we're legacy starters, because we've been called as a community, as a body of Christ, to step in and to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to have a legacy. And so God gave me an opportunity to live so that my family, so my son who cried and wondered if he would have time with me, that I can go back and see him again. And so Jesus spoke to me, told me to get up or my wife would die 6 months before I was shot. 6 months before I was shot, my mother-in-law and father-in-law both died. And essentially Jesus knew that my wife couldn't have another loss. And so Pastor Troy has actually told me, he's like, bro, I wouldn't mess with your wife, bro. Like if Jesus told you to get up for your wife, he didn't even say to get up for you. Like I would not mess with that girl. Yep. And so, and you know what? We struggled with alcohol. We were in the church, but we had things in our life that most people would think are not pleasing, but yet Jesus steps into the middle. I'm a former gang member, drug addict, thief, cheat, liar, and I later asked Jesus, how could you have saved me? You know who I am. You know my past. And he said, because I didn't give you what you deserve. I gave you what my son paid for. And so that book, Attacked at Home, talks about all of the redemption, everything that Jesus did, miracle after miracle. And then the second book is called Open Their Eyes, Get Up, Get Up, Get Up, Open Their Eyes. And really it's a devotional because, Ben, after we wrote the first book and people began to hear our testimony, they started saying, well, what about me? That's I hear your story, right? Like you guys come back from Africa, you guys come back from the Amazon with these miraculous testimonies. And people are like, but what about me? When is that going to happen in my life? And so the devotional is called Open Their Eyes. And it comes from 2 Kings chapter 6, where Elisha is surrounded with his servant in Dothan. And his servant goes out and sees that they're surrounded by the army. And what does Elisha pray? He says, Lord, open his eyes and show him that there's more for us than against us. And so the devotional is a devotion. It comes out of the first book, but it's for every individual to sit with God and say, God, now you show me where you've been. I hear John's testimony and everything you did, and it's miraculous. But now I'm going to sit with you, Lord, and I want you to open my eyes.
Yeah. It's good.
Boom, we're about to do I'm about to take a love offering right now at this table. Right now. I'm about to pass the hat around.
I think I got some tacos out in my truck still. So I'll get you one afterwards.
My goodness.
Man, that got deep quick. That was awesome. That's a great word. So guys, for y'all just now joining us, for the first 15 people that call in to 877-413-0888, we'll give you one of these 3 books. There's only 15, so hurry up and call first off. Second off, don't forget to join us because behind the veil, we're going to ask some some deeper questions. Something I always say to John is I can't wait for him to go with us around the world because I want to see him cry. And we're going to talk about why that is and what that means to both of us, because it means something very important truly to both of us.
Yeah.
And it's not just us making fun of each other, though we do like to do that. And we do like to have fun. It actually has a deep meaning and what that means. And we'll be talking about that. And then Connie will have a question for him, and so will Miss Rebecca, and we'll go into all that fun stuff. But before we go any further, I know you have a very important event tonight since it is the 10-year anniversary. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so we have, you can see it up on the screen, we have 10 years of transformation. So, you know, in the book, they're also going to find out. They're going to find out about John Arroyo, the gang member. So you see the picture on the left, that's me. That's who Grandma was praying for. I'm the evidence of a praying grandmother. I mean... So if you're a grandmother, if you're a mother, and you're a father, and you've been praying for that prodigal, don't quit. Because my grandmother never once watched me preach the gospel. She went to heaven in 2007, and I didn't walk into church until 2009. Her prayers were alive. So that guy right there. And so this right here is just 10 years of transformation, and it's going to talk about all the things that happened at Fort Hood. It's going to talk about what happened after, because there's a lot of really amazing and miraculous things that happened after I got up off the ground. And we're going to talk about all that. So it's going to be streamed on a Life Transformed John Arroyo. So go to a Life Transformed John Arroyo, go to our platform, Facebook, YouTube, and man, follow us tonight, 7:30 Central Standard Time. And I want to give a shout out to the Transform team right now. I love you, and this would not be possible without you because of your yes. And so thank you. It's not because of me, but it's everything that you do. Thank you, Transform team. I absolutely love you.
Don't start crying, because I'll start crying, or I'll start laughing one or the other. I'm already trying to ignore them because they're already teared up over here. Let's not do that. But no, man, 10 years.
Wow.
You know,
What
Ben,
the Lord has done.
Let's say this too, because I think this is important. There were 3 soldiers that died that day. There were 19 of us shot, and then the soldier that shot us, he took his own life. So he ended up being victim. He ended up being the 4th person that died. Let me say this, because I don't ever talk about those guys, and I think it's important that I do today. I didn't know them. And a lot of people may say, well, why don't you talk about the soldiers that didn't live that day? Because I do. You just don't know it. I do it in how I live my life.
Yep.
That's how I honor their sacrifice. How I honor their legacy is how I live my life. See, I could be broken, anxiety-ridden, suicidal, but I'm not, because there's 3 men that don't get to wake up every day and hug their family. So what I do is I live my life twice as good.
Yep.
For them and for me and for my family. And so for those of you guys that don't know, there were 3 men that died that day, and I celebrate their life. I celebrate who they are, and I bless their kids because they went to work and never went home. And also, you know, we're a church, we're a body here at Open Door that rescues the rescuer.
Yep.
One of the things that the Lord had me do, Ben, is he had me forgive Ivan Lopez, the man that shot me, because that's how I was able to move forward. You can't move forward unless you face your fear and your pain and you deal with the root cause. And the second thing is if you forgive the people that have hurt you, because if not, it's you will live with bitterness in your heart, and it will become cancer in your bones, and it will kill you spiritually, physically, and emotionally from the inside out.
Yeah.
So I forgave Ivan Lopez, and I remember speaking to one of the generals, and he said, John, we can look back. We did the investigation on the shooting, and we can see all of the red flags. He was just a broken soldier that fell through the cracks. He's one that we have to rescue the rescuer, right? We have to go to those people that are hurting kids right now, and we're trying to reach the people that are doing it as well. We're not only trying to save the kids, but we're trying to save that cartel member that's selling the kids. Mm-hmm. So Ivan Lopez, I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to meet his family, but I want them to hear me say right now, and I've said it before, that I don't hold anything against you. I'm sorry that I don't know if he hugged his kids before he walked out and shot 19 people, but I want them to know that I don't hold bitterness towards them, but I actually love them. And if there's ever an opportunity that I can help them, they're going to need a legacy starter in their life. Mm-hmm. How do you